So we're going to do a quick video on how to change a tubeless tyre out on this white T130. We're changing from a high roller down to a minion. Now some of the kit that you're going to need for this is obviously the tyre, some tyre sealant. In this case we've got Sands, but there are other brands available. CO2 inflator, track pump, tubeless valves, and of course tyre levers. A couple of different sorts there, again personal preference as to what you use, and some gloves. Now I don't have any rim tape because there are already rims in the wheel here, which in this case is a race face Arc 30, but if you were converting you'd probably want to consider some rim tape too. I'm going to take the rear wheel out. I've already dropped it down onto the smallest cog, highest gear. Lock the rear mech out, undo the axle. Drop the rear wheel out. Undo the dust cap, put it down to one side safely, undo the valve and let all the air out. Once the tyre is fully deflated, use both your hands and with your thumbs just gently roll the tyre and push the bead until it pops, like so. Depending on how long the tyre's been on there, it might take quite a while or a little bit of effort on there to get that off. You do that both sides. There we go, until the tyre is now loose on the rim. Take the tyre off the rim, and I'd start at the valve, put the tyre lever in, being really careful of your rim. Just hook one on there like that, and then use an additional lever just to go round and pop or unseat the rest of the tyre rim, like so. When you've got the bead unseated from the rim, you just check in there and just make sure that you're aware of any sealant that's left in there, and we need to mop that out before we go any further. So now we're going to just clean the rim off from all the residue, the old sealant, checking the rim tape as we go. I've no reason to suspect that there's any problem with the rim tape because the tyres have been keeping their inflation really well. Just remove any dirt, grit, or anything else that might be in there. And have a quick check of the valve. Make sure that's okay and seated well. Appears to be. So what I'll probably do is leave that valve in there and not disturb it. The downhill rear tyre on, as it's a rear tyre. We've got it out of the packet. Now we're going to slip it on the rim like so. I always like to line up the tyre logos with my valves, but there we go. And we just work the tyre on to the rim all the way around like so. Obviously it gets harder, a little bit more of a challenge as you get down to the bottom of the rim. So once you've got the tyre to this stage, you've got a little pocket down here, you're ready to put the sealant in. So here we have a 2.3 tyre. According to the instructions on the sealant bottle, 2.3 tyre takes around 3 fluid ounces. The measurements are marked quite handily on the bottle down here. So what I'll do is just pour in 3 fluid ounces. I'll be careful not to spill any. That's about right. I've got the sealant in the tyre. I'm just going to rotate the wheel round so that the sealant disappears down the bottom, and the bit of the tyre that's hanging off is up the top. Now I can seat the tyre quite nicely without any sealant sploshing around. Using a tyre lever and the final bit to lift the tyre onto the rim. Once you've got the tyre fully on the rim, I like to just go around with your fingers and your thumb, putting the bead out to the rim. You might lose a little bit of sealant when you do this, but that's not too bad. And then when you get to the top, you stop, and that's where we'll end up using the inflator to blow the tyre up quickly. So you make sure the inflator is in the off position, Screw the cartridge in like so. And then making sure the valve is still undone. Screw the inflator on to the valve, making sure the valve is in the top position. And then open it up and away we go. It'll make a bit of a pop. Like so. Remember, we're wearing gloves because this gets quite cold when it goes up. And there we go, inflated. This is probably up to a PSI that's higher than you'll want to ride at. But just take the time to go around the bead, make sure it's all seated. If you can see, there's a little rand there that needs to be the correct distance all the way around to make sure that the tyre is seated correctly. I go around with a little rag, clearing all the sealant that has popped out, both sides. And just give it a little rotate just to work that sealant all the way around and see if any more dribbles out. And now we're ready to put the tyre back on the bike. So when the wheel's back on the bike, I'll tend to pump it up to around about 50-55 psi or so, which is a lot harder than you want to ride at. And that just makes sure that the whole bead is seated nicely and there's no sealant leaking out. And once that's done, I'm happy it's holding pressure. Then I'll take it back down to around about 25 psi, which is what I like to ride at. Important to note, the maximum inflation pressure for the tyre in this case is looking like 60 psi, but probably more important than that is the maximum pressure that the rim can handle, which you need to make a note of.